everyone. Welcome to the Horror Show. I'm Susie Von Slaughter.
Fuego here.
Marcia Parker.
I'm Cecil Laird, and we're back for another edition of Get to Know the Horror Show. I believe this is our 6th episode, maybe our 7th,
crap.
but I think our 6th.
I think it is the 6th because the 4th one was with Dave.
Yep, that's right. Special guest appearance by producer Dave, but we
you,
just did our favorite 80s horror movies, and this week we are actually answering the question of Mr. Adam David. So getting into the guilty pleasure horror movies, I am going to say that my very first one is going to be one that might earn me a lot of ire. But frankly, if we did this right, all of our choices might be considered that. And my first one is going to be Jaws: The Revenge.
Oh.
I love the 4th Jaws movie so much. People think it's ridiculous because, yes, it's personal. And a great white shark, we are unsure whether it's the grandson of the original Bruce, or the second Bruce, or the third Bruce from any of the previous movies. But the shark tracks down little Sean Brody, the youngest son of Chief Brody. And then it follows Ellen Brody, the widow of Chief Brody, as she goes to the Bahamas with Michael, her other son, who is a studier of shells with Mario Van Peebles out in the Bahamas. And then, of course, the shark...
Interesting career path.
The shark, somehow, they fly to the Bahamas, and the shark swims from the northeast coast of Amity all the way down to the Bahamas, somehow in the same amount of time it takes them to fly there. So he's got rocket boosters.
On your mind.
There's a ton of garbage things, but it's got Michael Caine in it. It's got an amazing banana boat attack.
That's what I was thinking.
I love that moment, and when the shark goes for little Thea. I love the dreams that Ellen Brody has where she's out swimming in the Bahamas and the shark attacks her, because the juxtaposition of the red blood in the beautiful crystal blue water is amazing. It's got a ridiculous ending where they drive the mast of the ship.
Yeah, they do.
The mast of the ship into the shark, which causes it to somehow explode.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. It's ridiculous, but it doesn't stop me from loving this movie. I don't know why. I just do.
So bad it's good.
It's amazing. Susie, what's your number 1?
So when
Or
we,
3, as it were.
initially, when Cecil had brought it up to us about the guilty pleasures, I'm like, guilty what? Everything I like is good. No one can like that. But yeah, no, so it was really funny trying to kind of figuring out what would be a guilty pleasure. But no, it's kind of funny you bringing up Jaws.
Mm-hmm.
So you actually saw Jaws at a really young age. So it's really funny how even that's going to be your favorite no matter what, because that was your first kind of experience with it. But so anyway, so my first one, I guess, would actually be Amityville. I never saw the original to it, so...
You're talking about the Amityville remake.
Right.
With Ryan Reynolds.
See, that was my kind of first...
I don't think that's a guilty pleasure.
I think it is.
See, that's... Okay, so my guilty pleasure...
Her guilty pleasures might be a little off.
And this is what I'm saying. So, Amityville, the guilty pleasure.
No, I
You know,
agree.
he takes his shirt off in that movie, right?
Chop wood.
No, okay,
It
so
doesn't
no.
save the movie.
No.
No,
I
that's
will
not the
tell
movie.
you
It's beautiful.
My my favorite part of that movie, what made it my favorite is when shit's kind of hitting the fan, and he had the oldest son outside chopping wood.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Reynolds was chopping the wood, and he was having him hold it,
Mm-hmm.
and he was afraid to because he's obviously coming down with an axe, and he was letting go at the last second, and he just fucking grabs his face and he's like, "We're having fun, right?" Dude, that I was like, yeah. I don't know why about that movie, but him holding his face like, "We're having fun, right?"
Why is it always when a parent seriously disciplines a child, you really enjoy it?
I don't know.
Something about who knows. And then there's a part later on
Susie,
where
do you
he's
wish you could really just
You know
grab
what?
your little ones' faces and
all I'm
just
saying,
shake them into...
no. I'm just saying, like later on in that movie, then he takes his shirt off and he's covered in blood.
Oh,
no big
now
deal.
she switches
No,
gears.
but, so all
Hey,
I'm saying, but that part of that movie, I was
No,
like,
I get it. I'm just messing
holy,
around.
even before I had kids, but that was like, it was so intense.
Mhm, mhm.
But yeah, so that's my first one, Amityville with Ryan Reynolds.
See,
That counts. I think that
I would
counts.
have picked like maybe Amityville like 5 or something like that. Like
No, I
some
think the
middle
remake
one.
counts.
I don't think
As
it
opposed
counts
to The
because
Awakening,
It was
right?
awesome.
And see,
Yeah, The Awakening, which we're still waiting on. Fuego, your first one.
Jumping in on it. First one for me is going to be a series that I used to adore. It got progressively bad, and the Puppet Master series, I don't think anything has been good since number 5, but I love the second Puppet Master specifically so much. It's where Toulon is raised from the dead, and as opposed to like the prequel in number 3 where they're fighting Nazis and they turn the puppets good, number 2, he is a bad guy, and they introduced Torch, so they were up in the ante and having new crazy puppets in there. The kills are some of the best. It's not a great movie, but damn is it fun. I have all of the toys, a whole fleet that I brought when I first joined this show, which was kind of fun. And there was also a very lovely lady who goes sporting around. I can't even remember her name, but she hosted the Full Moon Video Zone, and she had lots of deliciousness to display. So,
who needs to know her name?
But yes,
Wow.
it's schlocky silliness, and it's violent for just really no good reason other than the fact that Full Moon, when they were in their glory days, when this came out in the late 80s, was awesome. So there you go. Puppet Master 2, guilty pleasure. Mine.
Marcia.
I'm gonna go with the first one I wrote down, which is Lake Placid.
Oh.
I love
Shoot it.
Lake Placid. I love the fact they're in Maine and nobody has a Maine accent. No, they don't even try. They
Yeah.
don't even try. Betty White's in it. She's amazing. The guy from Three Musketeers, I never remember his name.
Oliver Platt.
Yep.
Oliver Platt, yes,
Bill
he's awesome.
Pullman.
Bill Pullman, not Bill Paxton. I don't
Rest
know
in
why
peace.
people get that fucking confused because they're weirdos. But no, it's just an amazing movie, and like it's so ridiculous.
Bridget Fonda.
This giant, was
The-
it an
the
alligator
lead.
or crocodile? I can't remember. Was it? Did they
And
just?
it's
It's an
I think
alligator.
It is an alligator
Yeah.
that's in this lake of, in Maine. Like, it shouldn't be there. And who knows how it got there. And it was just huge, and it's just eating people, and everybody's like, oh, no, it's fine. There's nothing in the water. It's fine. Until they're like, holy shit, there's a fucking alligator in the water.
Wasn't Betty White feeding it?
Yep.
She
If I remember.
was. She
Yep.
kept and she
Cows.
fed cows. She's and her husband.
Endless supply of
Yep.
cows to
Yep.
give
On
those
accident. Maybe not.
Yeah, it's really funny. I love that movie specifically because How Did This Get Made?
Yeah.
Did this one. The podcast that I love so much that I tell Fuego about all the time. They did this, and it's like, when they talk about Bridget Fonda, or they just ask the audience, they did this in front of, they're like, who exactly was the good guy in this movie? Because, it seemed like if no one messed with the alligator, nothing would have happened at all. Like, everyone that dies goes to the lake searching for the alligator.
Yeah.
Like, I love it. I
Yeah.
absolutely love it.
It's
The
amazing.
the scene when the head gets chopped from the guy just leaning over the boat looking, and the alligator just
Oh, yeah.
to the scenes underwater when it lunges at the camera and stuff, like the giant alligator to the twist at the end where there's 2 of them.
Yeah.
It's like it's so much schlocky fun.
And
Yeah.
they did that crossover with the Anaconda franchise, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
that was I think the 5th Lake Placid movie.
Yeah.
Because they did Lake Placid 1, 2, and 3, and then they did the final chapter, much like Jason movies. And then they did Lake Placid versus Anaconda, and it just got... That's one of the ones I mentioned during our Started Strong and took a nosedive.
Yeah.
Because that definitely got worse and worse as the episodes went
Check
on.
out that podcast.
Yeah.
It's a good
But yeah, that was mine.
All right, so that's going to lead to my second one, which I'm going to say is one we just did a review on recently. That's AVP, Alien versus Predator. A lot of people hate on these movies. The second one I think deserves it, but the first one I really, really like because of a number of different things. Obviously, it was did it precede Freddy versus Jason, or did it come after?
It did.
It preceded
Yeah,
it. So it was the
before.
first major crossover since, the Frankenstein versus the Mummy crap
And
way
Lake
years
Placid
ago.
and Anaconda.
No, that was way later. It was the first sort of crossing of big franchises, one that had been sort of wanted for so long, but the rights issues just couldn't get figured out. And finally they did, and it took place on Earth. So that was awesome, and it told the history of predators and aliens fighting each other on Earth, and which makes sense as to why predators keep coming back in future installments, even though they were done earlier than this movie. Lance Hendrickson comes back and shows us who Wayland was. So he's the one that becomes the Bishop Robots in the later movies. And not only that, but they have the throwbacks where he does, this thing with his pen where he does the knife thing from Aliens. So they had all these little things. The effects were amazing. The giant queen alien that they fight at the end is great. The fact that, as some people think it's stupid, I love the fact that the predator that was left took on the girl as sort of a tribe, a co-tribesman, and marks her with the alien finger and stuff. Gives her a shield of the alien head and a spear with the alien's tail. Like, there was just so much cool in this movie. I don't care that there are holes or that it was a disappointment overall for whatever you were expecting. I didn't have any expectations because I hadn't read any of the comics. I loved it. I loved Alien versus Predator.
A lot of good ideas.
And I think, because we watched it recently to complete our Aliens and Predator series, but rewatching it again, as stepping back, you're just like, oh, there is a lot of stuff that you just don't pick up because you're just so focused and too close to it when you first watched it.
Yeah.
So I agree.
Susie, number 2 for you.
Okay, so once again, I can't really see this being a guilty pleasure, but apparently it can be one. It's actually Gremlins. That's my...
Yeah, I can see that.
The first one?
I don't
Yeah.
think so.
Really? Very celebrated.
Yeah, it is. I think
I
so
don't
too.
like Gremlins, so I agree with that.
Okay, so anyway, I thought it was there was nothing else like it out there, and it's still like a huge gizmo. It's one of those staples. Again, don't feed it after midnight. It's just so random, and then they turn into these fucking obscure creatures, and so I love that movie. It was awesome. I watch it with my kids.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's funny.
It's awesome. Are you kidding?
Kid
Yeah.
approved.
Yeah. So it's one of it's. my
Is that the
favorite.
one with Stripe? Is Stripe the bad guy in that
In the
one?
first one, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right. Sweet.
Awesome.
Good stuff.
Mhm.
All right. That counts, I guess.
I
It's
think
pretty
it counts.
celebrated,
It counts.
but if it
Yeah,
counts
yeah.
for Susie.
Hey,
I guess
film
guilty
is
pleasure
subjective.
could also be
I
just a
guess.
movie that you put on over and over and over again.
Mhm.
So if it counts for that too, then it counts. It
Yeah.
counts. Whatever.
Okay, well, it's not a great movie, and I guess maybe that's what
Maybe so.
decides if it's a guilty pleasure or not. I know that the next thing I'm going to describe is not a good movie by any means, and I mean, if I was going to go 80s schlock, I could easily go Brain Damage, or I could go oh goodness, what else was down here? Something like Altered States or Street Trash. But the one that I really wanted to focus upon is The Stuff, because we reviewed it together. And Larry Cohen concocted one of the strangest movies I think I've ever seen, because it talks about commercialism. It was basically like more of a schlocky, tongue-in-cheek version of The Blob, because it's about like living like gooey
Yogurt.
frozen non-dairy dessert yogurt type stuff, and the whole craze that comes about with it. The kills are all really schlocky, but the dialogue is hilarious, where a character has
And
to
the
say,
music.
"No, the music is great," and where you just can't get enough
Oh,
of stuff. Yeah, and
very 80s commercials. Yeah.
well, the fact that somebody has to say, "We're gonna make the world safe for ice cream again," that is ridiculous. The bad guys in the movie are the ice cream dealers who are being put out of business. It's really silly. I still think it is Larry Cohen's best movie. He did stuff like Q the Winged Serpent or whatever the hell, and Return to Salem's Lot, which really broke my heart and sucked because I love Stephen King so much. So yes, The Stuff is it's timeless and silly and really should be seen, because I feel like modern commercial consuming society, it has a lot to say.
No, I agree.
Marcia,
I like
next
that
one for you.
The next one is H2O.
Halloween H2O.
Halloween
Water.
H2O.
H2O.
I like that one personally.
Oh my gosh, Josh Hartnett.
Well, I like because it was the first one that brought back Jamie Lee Curtis since the second movie.
LL Cool J.
LL Cool J was in
Lovely
it.
ladies love James.
And
Busta
Cool
Rhymes
James.
in the sequel.
Ladies love Cool James. That's right.
Ladies Love Cool James, and it also had the first time that Michael was really stopped. I mean, if
Yeah.
he survived bullets or whatever, that's fine. But
Like,
she decapitates him at the end
Yeah.
of the movie. Spoilers, whatever.
And they made a sequel.
And they did. They made a sequel, and it doesn't because
Busta Rhymes. Right?
they said that it wasn't
So bad.
actually Michael, right? They
Right,
said
it wasn't. He
someone,
switched bodies or
right.
something.
He switched. Yeah,
He
put the
switched
mask on
bodies.
someone
Why
else.
didn't they do that in Friday 5? I mean, come on,
Probably.
man.
Well, you can't really kill Michael because he's amazing, okay?
It was no. The whole movie wasn't. No,
Yeah.
it was Michael up until then. Michael put his mask on someone else.
Allegedly.
Allegedly before they got in the
Before he,
ambulance.
like, yeah.
Or like
So-
in Friday 5, it was the ambulance worker, if I remember.
Yeah, it was. It was
Spoilers.
the driver. Yeah. So no, I liked it. Though.
I thought it was really fun because, like, they go, you know, it's 20 years later, whatever. She's moved on. She's like
It's a private academy, right?
private academy that her son's there. She's like the dean of the school. And then Halloween comes, and then everybody's left except for a handful of people, including herself.
That didn't get permission slips or some
Right,
stupid
something
crap
weird.
like that.
And Michael comes back, and there's just some really cool kills.
But not a lot,
Great
though,
dialogue.
right? I mean,
There's like 5
didn't
of
I
them.
remember that there was like not a lot of death in it?
Well,
like, a
there's
little bit?
only a handful. Again, there's
Mm.
only a handful of people, and poor cool James kind of gets it first. But
It was still a fun movie.
It was
I
really
agree
fun.
with you on that. I, really
I
liked
loved
that
it. It's just something fun that you can just put on and enjoy.
one.
I still remember seeing it in theaters, and it was after the Scream craze, and so the slasher thing was big again, which was kind of like,
Yeah.
strike while iron is hot, let's get this out there,
Yeah.
and I liked it a lot too.
Mhm.
It was a lot of fun.
It was fun. So that's going to bring us to our final round here of our top guilty pleasure. I couldn't remember what we were doing there for a second. Top guilty pleasure movies, and that's going to bring us to my last one, which is one that, again, I think this is going to fit closer than Susie's, although it's related to Susie's last one. I picked Gremlins 2, the new batch, because a lot of people think it's ridiculous.
It's
It's
amazing.
terrible compared to the first one,
I
but
know.
Love it.
I love it. I love all of the different gene-spliced gremlins, from the spider one to the electric one to the female one to all the different fun things. Like, they just went buck wild, and it's very appropriately timed if you watch it right now because of Clamp Corners, and it's the Clamp building, which is essentially Trump. It was a big take on Trump back in the
Based
day,
on
and
him,
now he's
yeah.
president. So again, I think they could easily bring Gremlins back and have Clamp be the president and do like the Gremlins breaking free and destroying the country under Clamp's rule. Like, I think that'd be really good, but I loved Gremlins 2. Phoebe Cates came back, Zach Galligan
Wow.
came back,
They also had that
Gizmo
other
came
guy
back.
come back.
The older
Murray.
guy.
Yeah, he was
Murray.
in all those Joe Dante movies.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. I loved Gremlins 2, the new batch, so much. It's my favorite.
And if you haven't seen the Key and Peele sketch where they recreate how they came up with all those crazy ideas, you
That's
should really
amazing.
watch it because according to Joe Dante, it was pretty spot on. So.
Really? That's funny.
He
I
even
didn't know
commented
that.
on Twitter about it. He was like, "Yeah, that's pretty much how it went."
That's hilarious.
really
So
funny.
yeah, Gremlins 2, the new batch for me. Susie.
That is not a guilty pleasure. Again. So okay, so
Oh,
my
you're
next
telling
one.
me with yours so far?
Okay, it's not. Okay, so anyway, so my next one I can kind of maybe see it could be a guilty pleasure. For those of you who have watched the show, you know I love horror and comedy mixed together. My next one is absolutely that. It's actually Drag Me to Hell.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that's.
I love
Yeah,
that
I
movie.
really
I'm
didn't-
with Susie.
I didn't
I
like
love
that
it.
movie at all.
I love it.
It's
I'm a goat.
it is it's so ridiculous. You're like, what the fuck? But it is scary at the same time.
An old
But-
woman gumming my lower jaw does not seem scary.
It's too, yeah, no. So that I can see, yes, that is a guilty pleasure.
High five, you did it.
Yeah,
I
you
did
finally found one.
I found one, yeah. No,
Same
it was so
Raimi.
great, especially at the end where she thinks she got rid of the curse and everything, and then he just pulls it. So I found this in my car. And she's like, no, and then all of a sudden, she gets literally dragged to hell in the fucking train station. He's
It's
like,
just like freaking the final night, or not the final nightmare.
Freddy's
Jason.
Jason Goes to Hell.
Jason
Yeah.
Goes to Hell. Yeah, it's the exact same ending as Jason Goes
It's-
to Hell.
I feel like they wore the dress
Yeah.
better.
no, and also with the goat when they're doing the seance and shit like that, like, ah, you bitch, like it's so.
Wow, I didn't even remember that. The
Extreme.
goat
Mhm.
says you bitch.
Yeah, he's like,
Yep.
you
Oh my
bitch.
God.
Yeah, see,
Man.
I know there's a reason I wasn't a fan of that one. Because again, it was a shining example of what horror had become in the PG-13 age.
Yeah.
That's what I did not like about it.
In a lot of ways.
I just thought it was.
Vomit doesn't scare me.
It's not even scary. It's not even too scary. It's just like extreme. It's like, what the fuck? It's funny.
Yeah.
It's funny.
It
It's
felt
funny.
so
It's
Evil
funny
Dead
to me.
2 Army of Darkness to me, though, with the puke gross that aspect of, the goofiness and the borderline Three Stooges.
No,
type.
obviously underlying,
It
like,
made no
you know,
sense.
that
There was no
she's been cursed, blah, blah,
story.
blah. But again, I love the comedy aspect of it, you know what I mean? So, that is my...
It
All
felt
right.
forced, but
the
anyways.
scene with
But that's
her
what makes it a guilty pleasure. Good job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Fuego.
So my last guilty pleasure is the early films of Peter Jackson, but one in particular. So before he did The Lord of the Rings and became this big superstar, he did weird early stuff like Bad Taste and Meet the Feebles, but the one that I love so much is Dead Alive because it is one of the strangest, bloodiest, goofiest zombie movies that you will ever see. And it's not just...
Does it still hold the mantle as the goriest movie of all time?
I think people have still proclaimed it as that on Bloody and Daily Dead and sites like that. I mean, the scene alone where he's got the lawnmower and he's just plowing through everybody, but I love the goofiness of like the scene at the playground with the weird little baby running around
The
and he's
undead
like
baby
chasing
that he's
after
slamming into the fucking swing set.
It's amazing. And then where there's the crazy preacher who's like, I kick ass for the Lord and stuff like that. I mean, it is so grotesquely
If you
gory.
haven't seen it, Susie, you would really like it. You
If
would
not
really
for
like
films like
it.
Dead Alive, there would be no Deathgasm. There would be maybe even not stuff like Turbo Kid and,
agreed.
Just, people carrying along that gross Ramiro type. I know they're talking right now.
You guys, it's so gory. Like, just trust us.
No, it's just funny because my first introductions were the most vulgar and intense people of our time, kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
I still remember seeing the cover as a kid and thinking it was going to be a serious movie, and then when I watched it as a teenager, I was like, it was goofy as...
Isn't that the
Goofy as
girl
hell, yeah,
pulling
with, like,
her mouth
pulling the
open
face
and
off
there's
of-
a skeleton underneath?
Yeah, the cover scared me as a
I
kid.
remember that.
Yeah, the cover scared me, but it's not a scary movie. It's just
No.
gross and funny.
Marcia, your last one.
Hocus Pocus.
Yes!
If
I
we're
don't think you
talking,
can call
and
that
I saved this because we're talking about guilty pleasures.
Alright, no, I guess it
Hocus
counts for a
Pocus.
different reason. It's good. Everyone loves it, though. Everyone loves it.
Zombies.
Disney with
I'm
the
not
D.
saying it's not
Black
horror. I'm
Cat.
saying everyone loves it.
Say
It's
It's not a guilty pleasure if everyone loves it, though.
It is because it's like oh here I'm 30 plus years old and I'm
30.
watching
I'm years old.
and I'm watching Hocus Pocus. Okay, like it is a guilty pleasure.
It's just a
Marcia's right
bunch of
about this,
hocus pocus.
It is.
Hey,
Actually-
it's one of the earliest appearances of Doug Jones.
Yeah.
He played the zombie that
Yeah.
cuts his mouth open.
And I've heard lots of younger kids
Mhm.
hate on this movie, so the fact that maybe it's considered a guilty pleasure for older fans,
Yeah.
like or slightly older fans. Marcia's not old.
That chick, the girl that the guy had to crush on, was
Oh,
like
yeah.
one of my earliest movie crushes.
Oh yeah, she
She
was a
was
babe.
gorgeous.
And she
she
was
seemed
like
a
the-
little older though.
Yeah, she
There was
did.
like one
Time.
Babylicious witch. There was like one.
Oh, yeah,
Sarah
Jessica Parker.
That's the one.
That was
the
before
beak
her
got
face became
bigger.
a foot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Little children, oh, baby. Wait, love
I still
that.
hear that song on Halloween. Like friends of mine in the late 20s, early
Play
30s.
with him.
I love Sarah Jessica Parker, and I think she's a beautiful.
Kathy
lady.
and Jimmy also was hilarious.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And they're up
She
for
was the
doing
real
another
comic
one. Like
relief,
they're
though,
all
right?
up for doing another one. It's such a bummer
No,
that
yeah, no, it was supposed to happen,
she's
right?
like 80 now.
They look more like witches
Who?
now.
Bette Midler. She's
Is she
so
really?
old at this point.
She's so
So
beautiful.
what?
She could still do it.
She's
She
still
dressed.
at concerts.
She dressed as her like the
Yeah.
Halloween before last.
Yeah.
And
She still has
did it.
concerts
Right
and
on.
stuff.
And she
Like,
did.
come on.
She did Spell on You.
Is there-
Whoa.
Sorry, there's a bug in my
Okay,
head.
you got
No, you got your ears pierced. Remember?
No.
We put
It's
a
like,
spell
it's like a
on
weird.
you.
Sorry, there's a weird thing. Okay, maybe it's Bette Midler. I don't know.
It was Bette Midler.
Stop it, Tom Cruise.
Did
Anyway.
she? We're gonna get out of here, and there's gonna be like a Facebook thing that says Bette Midler dead at 91.
Oh, don't say that. Don't you put that juju
No,
Ricky
no,
Bobby.
forgive me.
No. Anyway. Yeah,
Okay,
I
good
would-
one.
but
Hocus
yeah.
Pocus. Fair
Hocus
enough.
Pocus.
All right.
Yeah, that one I'll agree on.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Get to Know the Horror Show. That was our top guilty pleasure horror movies. Some of them very borderline, but hey, it's what we could come up with. So let us know in the comments down below what your guilty pleasure horror movies are. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Cecil Laird.
I'm Susie Gonzalez.
Gracias, I've been having fuego.
I'm Marcia Parker.
And remember, stay scared.
Like, share, subscribe, and buy our shirts.